Well, I'm joined by the voice of the Minnesota Golden Gophers, Mike Grimm, who is a part of the Learfield family, not only on the sports side, because Minnesota is one of our partners in the sports division, but now you're a member of the news division. Right. We just acquired the Minnesota News Network, and so we're partners again. Welcome to the family for the second time.
Thank you. Now I get to cash 2 paychecks every month instead of one. They're both very, well, I won't tell you how big they are. They're not all that big, but it's fun. And Learfield, of course, a great company, and we're thrilled to Minnesota News Network be a part of it, and I've always enjoyed being part of it with the Gopher Radio Network.
Well, glad to have you with us as we talk about this game. Tell our Missouri viewers just how important this game is for Minnesota, with it being on New Year's Day, and it's been a program that's on the rise with Coach Kill.
Yeah, it is a big game. This is the first January 1st bowl game since 1962. The Gophers went to after the 61 season, went to the 62 Rose Bowl, and they've not been back on New Year's Day since. They've had a couple of teams over the course of time where I think people felt they deserved to be a January 1st team, but they got passed over by other teams in the Big Ten, and that didn't sit well, obviously, with some of the fans, and things got, you get bumped down a few, and so all of a sudden it became a reputation that the Gopher fans don't travel. This year it happened that things fell their way. They needed a change in the final rankings to get a Big Ten team in this bowl game, and it worked. Wisconsin was here last year, so the Gophers in essence jumped them. Wisconsin is across the state now playing in Tampa, and I'm sure they're enjoying themselves, and Minnesota's enjoying it as well here. And then there's a lot of alums and a lot of folks that winter here, and a lot of retirees that live here on a permanent basis in Florida from Minnesota. And this is only the second time Minnesota's ever played in Florida in a bowl game. So all of those things, and then it was a good year. So all of those things factored together. And, yeah, it's a huge bowl game, and people are really excited.
I want to talk a bit about Coach Jerry Kill. And for those of you who don't know, he's got Missouri ties. His first head coaching job was at Webb City. Went 25-1, won a state championship there, and I think it was 1989. Now he's at Minnesota. This is a guy that he seems like a great guy, first of all. But he's dealt with health problems. Just talk about his coming to Minnesota and what he's had to deal with.
Yeah, he's been a great match for Minnesota. Minnesota is a little, I don't know exactly how they kind of Scandinavian stoicism, I guess. They're not they don't like to beat their own chest. They don't like to do a lot of bragging, and they're not comfortable, frankly. Most people up there around people that are that way. Not to say they don't exist, or not to say there's some value to some of that. In fact, Coach Richard Pitino on the basketball side, not to get totally off beat, he's like, well, why don't we brag up our state more? And it's just not the way Minnesota is. They're much more modest, means, and Kill's really fit into that mode very well. He's not a guy that's going to thump his chest. He's just going to use the old cliche, Billy's going to bring his lunch pail to work, put in a hard day's work. That staff works so hard, and a lot of that staff goes all the way back with him, not quite to the Webb City days, but through connections from that job. His defensive coordinator's been with him at every stop, from D2 all up to Minnesota. He's a Kansas native. His offensive coordinator's been with him through 4 stops, and I think that has helped. But Kill has been a good mix, a good match, I should say, with Minnesota. They've really embraced him. Winning obviously helps. Going to bowl games obviously helps. But when he got here, he kind of said, here's how it's happened at other places when I've rebuilt. Early, we're going to lose games. We're trying to rebuild. Slowly but surely, we'll start to be competitive in some games. We'll win a game we're not supposed to. People will start believing, and then we're competitive every week. And that's where they're at now. They're competitive every week. It wasn't that way 5 years ago, where if Ohio State came to TCF Bank Stadium, as they did this past November, and it would have been, there's not much chance. Gopher fans felt, it wasn't a great chance, but still you felt as a Gopher fan like there's an opportunity here the Gophers could win this game. And so I think that's a good indication of where he's taken it. I think this is a big game this week. If they can win the game against a really good team from the SEC, I think it shows that next step maybe has been made as well.
Yeah, and that's the key too. Everybody talks about, you have to win right away. You're expected to win right away. But it takes a while to build a program, and certainly Missouri fans know that. They were ready to show Pinkel the door after 3-4 years. They stuck with him, and now you're starting to see that success wear off, and it takes some time.
Yeah, and I was in St. Louis working at KMOX at the time when Pinkel was there. I got there in 2001. Gary had just been hired, so I was through that early process, and I actually see some similarities, to be honest with you, between what Pinkel did in Columbia and has done and how Kill is trying to build it. They're no-nonsense guys. They are tough, hard-nosed, hard-working guys. They don't take a lot of guff. and I see some similarities certainly. Now they have different backgrounds. Kill's a small town Kansas guy who's worked his way up through D2 to FCS, now to Northern Illinois, now to Minnesota. Gary and Kill's never been an assistant coach, even at the high school level. Never been an assistant. Pinkel, of course, learned from the great Don James and was on that great staff that people always talk about at Kent State and on to Washington. And but I do see some similarities in how Gary did his thing in Columbia and what Jerry Kill's now doing in the Twin Cities.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've got assistants that have been with them a long time. All right, your quick thoughts on this game and what Minnesota needs to do to have success.
Yeah, I think Minnesota, it's interesting because I ask Kill this in the pregame interview every week, what is the key today? And on August 28th, the key was the same as what it's going to be on January 1st. Every week for them, it is they don't want to turn the football over. They want to establish a running game and then use play action effectively off of that. And then defensively, they want to force turnovers, don't give up the big play, keep the play in front of them. They've been really good. I mean, they're a stronger defense than offense. That when they've struggled, it's because their offense hasn't moved the ball very well and they haven't been able, and they've turned the ball over. When they keep care of the ball and they move the ball offensively, the defense has kept them in a lot of games. So those are the keys. It doesn't change much, and I think turnovers will be a big key. Missouri, of course, has been really good in the turnover margin as well. So I think the team that wins on New Year's Day the turnover battle will likely win the football game.
And that's a lot how that happens when you play these games. You were able to have your family come down here. What's any fun stuff you've been able to do, or you've been tied up with work?
Well, I've worked most of it. I always get a kick. It was like when I was in St. Louis, I'd go cover the Cardinals in spring training. And it's a vacation. Well, not really. There is some work. I mean, it is. Look, it's two degrees below zero in the Twin Cities. Would I rather be here than there? And I love Minnesota. Yes, of course, it's better to be in the sun and the warmth. Yesterday, I did. I got away from it totally on Tuesday, and took the family and I went to Universal. It rained a little bit, but that's fine with us. We stayed out in the rain. We rode some of the rides. Got a little queasy on the Incredible Hulk roller coaster. That's a good one, but enjoyed it. My wife and two kids they're going to do some swimming and some other things here in Florida while I continue to put in these hard laborious hours.
Yeah, I opened up the curtains today in my hotel room, saw it was cloudy, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. And then I heard the forecast was 20 back home.
Yeah.
And my wife told me, shut up. So, yeah, we can't complain. Hey, Mike, thanks a lot for your time. Enjoy your stay down here, and good luck to Minnesota.
Yeah, thanks so much, Bill. Enjoyed it.
All right, thanks for watching us here at Missourinet.com.